So this was my grandfather Nathaniel Harper and my mother Mary Jackson Harper and my mom Dorothy Mae Harper Hubbard. I came back to Acres Homes because this is where I grew up. As a matter of fact, the building that we're in right now was the church that I grew up in. This church was built back in 1936 and it was on Paul Quinn Street. My mom at that time, who's now deceased, she passed in 2008, but it was about 1990s where she didn't want the church to be destroyed. She felt it was a need because she was in real estate, so she knew how important things were, and this is a historical building. So she moved the building from Paul Quinn Street to West Montgomery. She had a real estate business at the time. She held a lot of campaigns here to make sure that our people had a voice. So this church building, Venture Educational Center, is very important because it has a history behind it. Not only were we all baptized at this church, my mom and dad also got married here. So when this part that we're in right now, we had two sides to go into the church, but the walls, we didn't have the walls in the building right now because of the renovation was wide open. So way in the back here is where our restroom is now, but that's where our choir stand was. My mom played the organ, she played the piano. My dad and my two other siblings, we were the choir at that time. So my cousins eventually came in and we had a bigger choir. It might have been about 8 of us at that time. But this is so special to me because it's like a sanctuary, and every time I look at this building, it's kind of, I feel so good because I feel that I'm protected. I'm wrapped up with my great-grandfather. They know, they're smiling down and from heaven to say, like, this building is still standing. And it's, like I said, since 1936, and this building is still standing. So I take pride in that, and it's just a joy coming here when I come here because I know I'm safe. The bottom is where I was raised, and this is like what's so funny about the bottom of Acres Homes. It's just like, you seem like you're at the end. When you get to the bottom, you're out of Acres Homes. So the bottom to me was Mansfield, 2701 Mansfield, as a matter of fact. So we had Mansfield, we had DeSoto, then behind Mansfield we had Paul Quinn, and then when you get into Yorkdale, it starts their whole nother little scenery. But the bottom was down DeSoto, where DeSoto Park is, Mansfield Street, and now T.C. Jester is like the end of our bottom, per se, because back in the day, T.C. Jester was not there, and we had a dead end that would stop there. But right now, the bottom is still the bottom and the fofo. Raised up in this area, we had a family next to us, had 8 kids, or at least there were 8 people in the family, and we were pretty well middle class, you know, back then, and most of the people around us were not. And so we had some neighbors would knock on the door, little kids would knock on the door, and I may have been in middle school. My parents were not at home, but they knocked on the door and said they needed something to eat. So without hesitation, I found some bread, I found some lunch meat, I found some canned goods, and I just gave them to them with no problem because I wasn't going to get in trouble because that's how we were raised, to help others. Education was very important to my mom way back then. She was the only sibling that graduated from high school and college. All her other sisters, though, had businesses, but my mom went on to excel at Prairie View A&M University. She had majored in dietetics as a dietitian. She majored in biology. She worked for Dr. Royal Andrews, which is one of the main doctors that was here back from the beginning on West Montgomery, and he was the first doctor that I'm aware of that would come here to help people that were less fortunate. He gave my mom this opportunity, and I think she worked for him for a good 10 years. And at that time, my mom seen the need for educating my siblings and I. We all had a job there at Dr. Andrews' office. But Dr. Andrews really saw most of the Medicaid and Medicare patients. And he was one of the ones that was the first one that came to Acres Home community in order to help people of color. And she was instrumental in getting him to come to Acres Home. One other thing about my mother, as far as elections, she was real good in politics. I have to say she was into politics. And she was the first commissioner of Acres Home. So that was my first experience as being out there trying to help people come in and vote, like giving them out these little cards, don't vote for my mom. So that was very important to me because I got to see how voting really worked. She also was an Eastern Star, the Worthy Matron, which is a high degree in the Rose of Sharon chapter. And with that being said, we also was a part of that because she was instilling integrity with her kids, the honesty, and just to be young ladies. The Eastern Star building was on West Montgomery also, and that's also the same place where we had the Cedar program, which is the summer youth program that she had, and we were held upstairs. So the historical building, as far as the Eastern Star building that's still standing, she made a point of getting to places in Acres Homes to give notice to where they were, and you know, it's the history behind the citizens here in Acres Homes that was so important. Amongst many of the other opportunities and advancements my mom did, she was also a precinct judge at Precinct 576, which was held at St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church located on Paul Quinn Street. Currently, I think Mr. Charles Ingram is now in that position, but as a kid, we were told it was very important to vote. So I worked in the precinct also with my mom, and it was, you know, I had to really be on my toes because she was watching me just like every other worker, and she was very strict about the rules, and everybody, you know, knew when they came into that precinct, it was about business. My mom also taught at Barbara Jordan High School for Performing Arts. I think that's exactly what it's called right now. The reason she worked for Barbara Jordan, she didn't have her teacher certificate. She went back to get her teacher certificate because she wanted to make sure that she worked at Barbara Jordan School. So out of all the schools in the world, she worked there. She taught biology for a few years there. And she was so proud of the fact that, you know, Barbara Jordan name would be on her resume. And with that being said, with the politicians and different things like that in the community, she wanted to know and let everyone know the importance of voting. In order for the community to be where they need to be and get the resources that they need, you have to go out and vote. And she instilled that to all of us about voting, and that's what I love about my mom. One of the main things is that she really cared about people, and she did whatever she could to help. And those things like that are real dear to me, so I want to give back to the community any resources that they need in order to help them do better. And that's why Ben Cherie Educational Center is here, because we want to pull these kids that are reading way below their grade level and bring them up to where they need to be. I also have experience in working with STEM for girls. I was honored to have the position at Texas Southern University this summer, worked at the Science, Technology, Engineering Department, and what we had there was a robotics for girls. It's called a Robo Camp. And I've learned a lot of techniques from that. We were teaching science, teaching math, and we had a lot of different activities, field trips. We want to expose these kids to other things other than just going to the park or to the zoo. You know, there's a lot of things out there that our kids need. So Ben Cherie Educational Center is here to help any and everyone. We still do tutorials here. We're willing to do some volunteering work, you know, let anyone know that we are here to help. But I just want to thank everyone who has listened to this video, and if you have any questions, we can be reached at 713-598-1646. This is Willie Elaine Hubbard Brooks.